Good morning to you all. His Excellency, ministers, members of the European and national parliaments, business leaders, dear speakers, researchers, dear friends of Europe. I am delighted to welcome you to the launch of Horizon Europe here in Lithuania. And we have a very exciting program with distinguished guests planned for you today. I am Agnė Paliokaitė, Director of Visionary Analytics, and I will guide you through the conference today. It is my great pleasure to invite His Excellency Gitanas Nausėda, the President of the Republic of Lithuania, to do the opening remarks. The floor is yours.
Dear Commissioner, Mr. Director General, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you at this event. The launch of the new Horizon Europe program marks a wonderful new opportunity for Lithuania. By encouraging countries and researchers to work together, it will give a new impetus for innovation that we so clearly need for our future prosperity. By participating in Horizon Europe, we can unlock our country's potential and create a greener, healthier, more digital, and more inclusive future. Exactly a year ago, I launched broad consultations on how to reach a breakthrough in Lithuanian innovation, research, and development policy. 16 recommendations had been prepared and broad agreement had been reached that business as usual was no longer an option. Some of the recommendations have already been included into the government's program and its action plan. Everything depends on us. Now is the time to show our ability to concentrate on research, researchers, and research institutions. To make Horizon Europe work for Lithuania, we need to have a clear plan. First, we need a systematic effort to increase national funding for research and innovation. We have to be target-oriented. We need to identify the most promising areas of innovation for Lithuanian society. The success of our investments relies on the competent and dedicated people. Adequate infrastructure should empower those who will use it. Secondly, we need to address the fragmentation of research and innovation institutions as recommended by the European Commission and the OECD. We need to develop consistent research and innovation policies, coordinate the activities and build stronger links between policymakers and implementers. All this can be achieved by setting up the Office of Chief Officer for Research and Innovation. Thirdly, we need to place a stronger emphasis on developing global relevance of Lithuanian science and business. This can be achieved by strengthening their competence. A crucial part of this effort relies on the framework set by Horizon Europe. I wish for this new program to become a catalyst for new ideas and better lives. I strongly believe that our researchers, entrepreneurs, public and private institutions have both potential and capacity to successfully participate in Horizon Europe. Let our thirst for innovations help us create a solid basis for future prosperity. I wish you all an inspiring discussion. Thank you. Ačiū.
Thank you to Mr. President for such strong and encouraging words. Indeed, this is an unprecedented opportunity for Lithuania. And the next to celebrate it is Jurgita Šiugždinienė, the Minister of Education, Science and Sport. Please.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Madam Commissioner, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you all at this National Launch event. I'm very happy that today we will have an excellent opportunity to hear directly from Commissioner Ms. Mariya Gabriel and Director General Mr. Jean-Eric Paquet, the main messages on the newly launched Horizon Europe program. It is also a good occasion to discuss our country's participation in this important EU financial instrument, primarily how green and digital transitions of Lithuania could be accelerated by using the Horizon Europe platform. Horizon Europe program is being presented as more ambitious in comparison to its predecessors. Lithuania is also more ambitious, seeks to be active and visible in Horizon Europe landscape, as well as in the global research context. Horizon Europe program provides good opportunities for our researchers and innovators. However, Lithuania's vision and aspirations will become a reality only after implementation of necessary reforms. Let me briefly introduce some of them. First, we plan to consolidate scientific potential in priority areas: health and biotechnologies, information and communication technologies, and new production processes and materials, by development of innovation ecosystems and creation of centers of excellence. Those centers will serve as a platform for cooperation between different research institutions and businesses. Second, critical mass of talented researchers is a key for our progress. Therefore, we aim to become a center of talents attraction. For this, we plan to double funding for research and innovation, to improve conditions for researchers' career, and to support open science activities. We believe that our investments in research infrastructure projects, intersectoral cooperation, and talents will have twofold effect. On the one hand, it will help to strengthen scientific potential and increase quality and competitiveness of Lithuanian research system. On the other hand, it will create incentives and preconditions for successful participation in different Horizon Europe instruments, such as teaming, different collaborative projects, Mariya Skłodowska-Curie actions, and others. Finally, I would like to point out that Lithuanian government has decided to include in the Recovery and Resilience Plan a special program to foster Lithuanian participation in Horizon Europe. It covers a range of activities, including funding of Seal of Excellence projects, strengthening of Lithuanian NCP system, and establishment of science officers network in governmental institutions. I take this opportunity to emphasize that Lithuania acknowledges the importance of science and innovation and perceives it as a fundamental enabler for reaching the national and European key objectives of Green Deal and digitalization. I would like to express my warm wishes for success of this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Minister for her supporting words and also for call for action. And indeed, Horizon Europe is no more a program just for research and scientists. It is also a program for innovation. Therefore, I kindly invite Ms. Aušrinė Armonaitė, the Minister of Economy and Innovation, to say her opening remarks.
Dear Mr. President, dear Madam Commissioner, dear colleagues and dear science and innovation community, dear friends. It's exciting to be a part of a significant Horizon Europe program, and we are determined to show our leadership in bolstering research and innovation to strengthen the EU's position as the global leader in this sector. And Horizon Europe is a key asset to reach this goal. Lithuania is already an innovation-driven country. For example, the contribution of life sciences to Lithuanian GDP is 1%, and we have an ambitious goal to increase this number to 5% by the year 2030. Furthermore, world-famous companies like Thermo Fisher Scientific chose to invest and continuously expands its presence in Lithuania, as we can provide them with a state-of-the-art infrastructure and our highly skilled talents. As a result, the COVID-19 vaccine components are manufactured here, and this way Lithuania contributes to the global fight against the pandemic, and we are very proud of it, of course. These examples illustrate our ability to take leadership in bolstering research and innovation, and I am sure that we will show leadership in implementing the objectives of the Horizon Europe program. Of course, as in every country, we face some challenges, and we want to improve our cooperation between business and science, as well as strengthen international partnerships. For this, we have started to implement the innovation reform. We are establishing a stronger innovation agency based on the best international practices. I am certain that Horizon Europe will help us to reach our goals. I sincerely urge the science, innovation, and technology institutions community to actively apply for participation together with foreign partners, disseminate research results widely, engage in international value chains, and contribute to solving the most pressing challenges of the European Union. By solving global social and economic challenges, we will contribute to increasing the competitiveness of both the European Union and Lithuania. Thank you.
Thank you to His Excellency and to the ministers for finding the time and supporting us today, and also for clearly demonstrating that Lithuania is ready to invest into research and innovation and take charge and take leadership in the Horizon Europe program as well. Now we're ready to begin our event. And I'm happy to announce that we have a lot of people registered. We have about 650 registered participants from 14 countries, some of them even outside the EU. And a lot of people are also watching the event via YouTube channel. Before we start the plenary session, a couple of practical reminders. We are going to have 4 keynote presentations before the panel discussion. And we also want to get the discussion flowing. So I urge the registered participants, please use Slido platform to ask questions, and we will use every chance to address them when we can. And now to start our plenary session, please welcome Mariya Gabriel, European Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. She will give a presentation on Horizon Europe for better future of Europe and the world. Mrs. Gabriel, I give the floor to you.
Dear Mr. President, dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, dear researchers and innovators. First of all, it's a real pleasure for me to be here today together with you, with the Lithuanian research and innovation community, to launch our new European research and innovation program, Horizon Europe. Thanks to your support, we have been able to put together a reinforced program with a budget 30% higher than Horizon 2020, reaching 95.5 billion euros for the next 7 years. This increase in budget provides a clear political message. Europe is committed to investing in science, technology, and innovation. Horizon Europe is the result of an intensive co-creation process. evolving close interactions with the European research community, and this helped us to achieve a more balanced, simplified, inclusive, and multidisciplinary program. The pandemic has showed us the importance to invest in research and innovation. It also showed us that science and innovation are Europe's most powerful tools to recover from the crisis and tackle the environmental, societal, and economic challenges we are facing today. Besides the well-known objectives related with the green and digital transitions, Horizon Europe will focus on improving our health, mobility, energy efficiency, food security, while preserving our precious cultural heritage. We have learned from previous program and put in place a new structure with a simplified landscape of partnerships and new initiatives to reach more impact. These are, for example, the missions and the European Innovation Council. On the structure, the first pillar is focusing on boosting Europe's excellent science. Here, we'll continue to support European science powerhouse, the European Research Council, as well as the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions for researchers' mobility. I'm happy to say that under Horizon 2020, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions supported 170 Lithuanian researchers from 31 institutions. The second pillar on global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. This pillar is here to turn the results of our excellent research into market solutions available to citizens. This will be enabled by 6 clusters, thematic clusters, on topics such as health, energy, bioeconomy, digital, or space. This pillar will also support our partnerships with industry. With a reduced number going from over 120 to 49, they will aim to better align research and industrial agendas to deliver faster and better solutions to our key challenges. The partnerships will be more inclusive and more strategic, covering diverse disciplines and actors throughout member states. If we want to achieve more impact with Horizon Europe, we need to create more synergies. Partnerships will be an important tool to create synergies between the EU, member states, regions, and the private sector. Another new element, the new missions. They will also contribute to these efforts. It will pool resources from European Union member states and regions to achieve ambitious goals, such as fighting cancer, tackling climate change, protecting our oceans, waters, making our cities greener, and ensuring soil health. We are now in the phase where targeted and focused implementation plans are being prepared. And we continue to count on you, on the research and innovation community, to be involved in the design of the missions and guide us along the way. Finally, the third pillar, Innovative Europe. The third pillar will promote the development and scaling up of breakthrough innovations with a key novelty, the European Innovation Council. For the first time in the European history, we'll have a dedicated fund for small and medium enterprises and startups with a budget of over 10 billion euros. The European Innovation Council will provide direct financing to scale up our most promising startups and create vibrant innovation ecosystems in Europe. The startup landscape in Lithuania, it's very active, with more than 900 startups in 2019. And some of them have already taken part with the EIC. I would like to invite you, startups, to continue to apply to the European Innovation Council, but also to count on the support of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, which also offers great opportunities. One example of a successful Lithuanian project funded under the EIT is Legends. It was supported by EIT Health and awarded with first place at the Silicon Valley Pioneer Competition. This project is developing a high-impact software that allows to automate heart ultrasound examination. And I encourage Lithuanian researchers and innovators to continue their engagement in the program and help us to unlock Europe's full innovation potential. 7 years from now, Europe should not only be leader in science, but also in innovation, benefiting all our citizens and all our regions. I'm aware that the pandemic has somehow awakened research networks and reduced the research capacity in some member states. To address some of these issues, I think that these member states that need to increase their capacities can continue to count on our support. This time, the widening part in Horizon Europe is with an increased budget, 3.3% of the total budget, over 3 billion euros. And here, we would like to encourage research and innovation reforms, collaborations between all member states, as well as sharing of knowledge, talents, and infrastructures. So I would like to conclude by saying that I count on all Lithuanian researchers and innovators to participate and continue to deliver their best in this program. We need your active engagement. We need your excellent contribution for a better recovery of Europe, supporting our green and digital transformations. And finally, I would like to invite you to share your ideas and experience with us during the 2021 Research and Innovation Days, taking place on 23rd and 24th of June. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a very fruitful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gabriel, for such inspirational words, and it's wonderful to have you here today. We'll still have several minutes left, so I will take a chance and ask a couple of questions. I know everyone is eager to listen. How can we contribute to the European mission? So this is a big novelty, right? Horizon Europe and its approach to missions is an opportunity to maximize the impact on socio-economic priorities. We wonder, how can Lithuania prepare to best engage in the European missions? What reforms have to be made? What preparations at the national level?
Well, maybe here two main messages. First, I must say thank you for your active contribution, because remember, when we started our work on missions, that was more than 1 year ago. And that's a real co-creation process. What we received, that was valuable contributions from citizens, from Lithuania, from researchers, from innovators, in order to identify first what are the big recommendations if you'd like to achieve these missions. That's why an important phase of the process, that was the publication of our report. So my first plea is look at these recommendations and tell us what are the most important in a very short term, in order to see how we can show results and convince others to continue to work together with us. The second thing is the keyword synergies. We are all aware that missions are part of Horizon Europe, but Horizon Europe will not be the only one program necessary to achieve their goals. That's why it's so important to look first at synergies with other funds, with the European Regional Development Funds, to look at the cohesion funds, to social fund, to look for synergies with our environmental policy, with our industrial policy, with the support for cultural and creative industries. And final third point, for me, what is important is always to pay a lot of attention to skills. If you'd like to achieve these extraordinary missions, fighting cancer, have 100 climate neutral and smart cities, or 200 regions in Europe that are very well advanced on tackling climate change, we need to equip first our young people with the necessary skills, to support our researchers, to give us solutions, to help us to shape the adequate solutions for the different grounds. That's our strength, the diversity of the European Union. And of course, to be here to prepare for reskilling and upskilling in order to be as much as possible aligned with the new realities. So that's my main message. Please continue to be very active, pay attention to synergies, and always keep at the heart of these initiatives the benefits for our citizens.
Thank you so much. It seems that synergies is the main keyword today, several times mentioned already. And of course, human capital for research and innovation is the major factor for Europe, indeed. So thank you, Commissioner, for being here with us today. I still have one small question. I see that a lot of people are actually asking and very anxious to know if there are any simplifications planned for Horizon Europe and for submission of applications. Do you have anything for us?
Yes, the answer is yes. Together with my team, we work a lot because we know how important it is to continue to preserve the excellence, but how important it is to work on access to excellence. And simplification is part of this process. So I can assure you that that's a continuous effort. Together with my team, we already made some advancements, but we'll continue to pay attention to this because it's absolutely necessary. And that's why we have on one side simplification on some very traditional procedures, but that's why too we managed to innovate with the European Innovation Council, with the very flexible and very fast funding, with the voucher schemes. So I think that every one of you, what is important now is to learn about the novelties in the programs and to see how with already made advancement, we can continue to transform the program into something absolutely beneficial for our researchers and for our innovators.
Thank you. That is indeed great to hear. And I'm happy to announce that next day, tomorrow, we'll have more detailed discussions about the novelties in each of the pillars, including the European Innovation Council, which is a big novelty in itself. So I take a chance to thank you once again, Commissioner Gabriel, for finding the time and being here with us today and encouraging our researchers and business leaders to participate in this unprecedented program for Europe. Thank you once again. And also thank you to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Lithuania, who stayed until now to listen to Commissioner Gabriel. Now, as we move on with our program, I just want to notice that the world has changed dramatically since June 2018, when the first proposal for Horizon Europe was launched. So in addition to our old challenges, such as structural development or climate change, we have these new challenges, such as the COVID crisis. So obviously science and innovation is needed more than ever. So to continue on discussing Horizon Europe as a tool to address these issues and to deliver on common European goals, I invite Mr. Jean-Eric Paquet, Director General of DG Research and Innovation, European Commission. Mr. Paquet, I pass the floor to you.
Good morning, everyone. Commissioner, good morning. Ministers, it's indeed a privilege to be able to come in the discussion and in this seminar after Mariya Gabriel and say a few words on how the Commissioner's teams in DG Research and Innovation, but also in other parts of the Commission, are now working with all of you across Europe, including in Lithuania, to ensure that as the program kicks off in the coming weeks, we indeed continue to support the best science worldwide, provide knowledge and solutions to tackle our challenges, the deep transformations we are now engaging into across Europe. You mentioned the pandemic, the green and digital transformations all require a deep investment in research and innovation to provide that knowledge and these solutions. And indeed, as we were negotiating first, preparing then Horizon Europe, we very much focused with member states and all actors of research and innovation across Europe on these major challenges to ensure that the program from science, cutting edge science support through the European Research Council, down to upgrading our support to innovation with the creation of the European Innovation Council, that across Horizon Europe, in combination, of course, with other instruments, we can help Europeans make a real difference. And I think on science and European research in Lithuania and in the other 26 member states, I think the last year of the pandemic has really put science at the heart of policy making to manage the pandemic, provide new science, new knowledge to work on therapeutics, and now, of course, make vaccines widely available, and the production, as you all know, is now ramping up with the perspective in the second quarter of a very, very, very large availability of vaccines, allowing Europe to move out and beyond the pandemic. I think what is here maybe interesting to note is one remarkable story around European science, which is the BioNTech vaccine, the messenger RNA vaccine, which was the first authorized in Europe, but also worldwide, sometimes called the Pfizer vaccine, because indeed this European biotech company, BioNTech, teamed up earlier this year with Pfizer to finalize the clinical trials and, of course, work on production also. So it's a very powerful partnership. But the science behind that specific vaccine is 100% European. BioNTech was funded from the 5th framework program onwards for developing this new technology, and the company, and this was an absolutely remarkable effort, decided to use the technology on COVID-19, as we all now know, was able to produce a highly efficient, effective, and very safe vaccine in a record time, of course, together with other vaccines, but very spectacularly. So I think here, this is, I think, a story which shows European citizens everywhere in Lithuania and across Europe that we need to invest in science early on, even when it's fundamental science and applications are not entirely clear from the outset, because that then equips us when we need responses to draw on that science and produce very, very effective solutions. The vaccine here being a remarkable illustration of it. Now, what I would like to underline also, adding to Mariya Gabriel's presentation, and where she, I think, very rightly highlighted the extremely positive developments in Lithuania, that we very much hope that with Horizon Europe, connected, of course, also to the Recovery and Resilience Facility, and we have high expectations that the government and the administration in Lithuania and all actors discussing the Recovery and Resilience Plan will also focus it on research and innovation, together then, of course, also with regional policy instruments. Mariya mentioned synergies, and you said that this is a word which is very visible in the comments of participants today. I think it's going to be extremely important that you work with all actors in Lithuania in indeed identifying how best you can articulate your national investments and efforts, which are increasing. And I must say, I would like here to underline that Lithuania is supportive of the objective of the European research area on increasing public investment in research. And in fact, you are doing, in terms of public investment, in fact, quite well across a European benchmark. So to continue to devote significant national fiscal resources, I think this will be key in the coming years. But then combine it with these European funds across the spectrum. The Commission is working closely with many of you, and I would like here also to underline the rather remarkable development of the creation of this innovation agency, which I understand follows also a long discussion between your ministries and the Commission around the European semester. I think this is also, a very good illustration how EU-level work can then also help at national level to make important structural reforms. There are other examples around life sciences, around smart specialization, where I think Lithuania is really using EU instruments effectively. And I can only encourage you to continue to do that so that you can, with the national and EU resources which become available, continue to upgrade your science, innovation and development system. I mean, that you today rank fourth on fintech worldwide is an absolutely remarkable result. I think as Europeans, we are very proud of Lithuania, which with other member states, but at the highest level, puts Europe's fintech very high on the worldwide innovation map. So that is, I think, a rather very remarkable result, and a result which is the outcome of regulators, the Bank of Lithuania to begin with, and actors of the innovation ecosystem, and I'm sure Mark Ferguson will come back to that in his intervention in a moment, teaming up, including with regulatory sandboxes, and with then sustained structural investments. And after now 3 or 4 years, this is really paying off. And this, I think, is an inspiration for many, firstly in Lithuania, I'm sure in other areas, but then also across Europe, that when you bring the key players together and then focus on a path to development and investment, this can then translate into very, very impactful and highly visible outcomes. So a very remarkable achievement on which I know you are continuing to build today. So that's, if you want, the broader context where I think Horizon Europe is now positioning itself, trying to be relevant both at EU level, but also helping at national level. The European research area is about 27 research and innovation systems coming together, creating critical mass, and Horizon Europe obviously will hopefully make a big difference in doing that. So what I can, I think, still briefly do, even if Mariya, I think, already very well set out the features of the program, which I think are also well known to the audience this morning, is maybe highlight a few specific areas which are important for those of you which are now preparing themselves to engage with the program, to prepare proposals in the European Research Council for Marie Skłodowska-Curie, the EIC, but also participate in partnerships and work across Europe in becoming parts of consortia, which then will bid for funding. Give you a few highlights of what you should be aware of as you prepare yourselves. I think the first point is, and the first message is, continue to engage. Lithuania has been very active in the co-design of the program up to now at the Research and Innovation Days last September. Come back now in June. Mariya announced it. 23rd and 24th of June we'll have the next iteration of the Research and Innovation Days. We are also organizing now webinars on the preparation of proposals. We will have, of course, information days as soon as the work programs and the calls will be launched in the next weeks and months. You absolutely need to be there to be fully briefed on the one hand, but also with opportunities to engage with partners, colleagues in other member states, and build these European proposals. There's a degree of simplification. Mariya said it already. Let me here highlight in particular the model grant agreement. There will be one model grant agreement on which we will work, and this is going to reduce massively the number of options you had to consider in Horizon 2020. And I very much hope that this can also then help you better prepare your proposals. We are looking, of course, also at the evaluation system. In particular on the EIC, there will be interesting novelties. And we continue to be, of course, very well aware of the cost. It's an investment, but a cost as well of preparing a project. And we hope that with the IT infrastructure, which continues to develop, we can also here help you limit the costs of preparing proposals. Because indeed, the prepared proposal then competes. The success rates connected on the one hand to the budget, which is much increased, but remains limited, and the ever increasing interest in the program get us to often success rates which can be frustrating. But I think you need to continue to be part of these efforts, because any proposal prepared is also a platform for highly structuring cooperation across Europe, with support at the outset or sometimes later under the program. There will also be a number of novelties. I just want to highlight two here on the rules for participation. One is on open science. We continue with you to promote that agenda. The Commission now just launched a repository, an open science repository, where you are all invited, if you so decide, to make your research available. There will be a peer review system which will be offered here as well, and that I think will be certainly an important resource to then also enact this obligation to make your research available from day one on a repository, on an open access journal. And in this case, if you want to use this new platform offered by the Commission, it will be available. Another important change is on gender. You are aware that for Mariya, Gabriel, for the Commission, but for all of us, gender is an absolute key dimension of the research landscape, and we want to continue to push for more gender balance at all levels. The pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on female scientists. So I think we need to be aware that there can be no complacency. Progress has been made, but we need to continue to nurture it. And this is where we will also require gender equality plans to be in place in the institutions bidding for funding under Horizon Europe. Many of you have already invested into these gender equality plans, but those of you which were not yet in a position to do so need to prioritize that now in 21. We will not have it as a mandatory requirement in 21 so that you can prepare them properly, but for calls and evaluation processes into 22, this will become a mandatory requirement. So please invest into these gender equality plans. One word also on an important component of the program in Lithuania and everywhere else in Europe, which is the widening part of the program. Mariya mentioned it, of course, already. The European Parliament and the Council decided that it was absolutely needed that we invest more resources from the program into helping institutional development towards excellence in all member states and in widening countries particularly. So the budget is multiplied by 3. That's very significant, with, of course, the traditional instruments which Lithuania has used in the past of twinning, teaming, ERA chairs, so that these will be, of course, still available and with greater resources attached to it. So we will be able to support a very significant number of projects under the widening part of the program. So continue to prepare your institutional development plans and continue with that also the restructuring of the Lithuanian landscape, which is underway to really create these centers of high scientific excellence, which are needed to develop the right science in the country, but also then to be part of the European research area and compete in Horizon Europe. So here, that's really one point, I think, where I would expect a lot of good proposals coming from research organizations and universities across Lithuania. In the context of this widening toolbox, we will also have a number of more of new approaches. One mentioned by Mariya early on was the notion of mentoring to help good projects being prepared. We also will have what I sometimes call the hop-on scheme, where consortia without a widening country will have the opportunity in a second round to add a participant from a widening country, of course on a competitive basis, funded out of the widening part of the program. But that I think will also, over the lifetime of Horizon Europe, offer many opportunities for researchers and institutions in Lithuania to join consortia and be fully part of Europe's landscape. So that I think is really a part of the program where I expect, including the policy support facility, which is connected, where I expect a lot happening in Lithuania. And the same goes, of course, on the synergy side, where the work with structural funds is going to be much more straightforward. We had a seminar in Brussels end of last week, and I'm sure that many of you are aware of that and of the outcome of that seminar. And I think the legal setup of Horizon Europe and structural funds is now pretty straightforward, allowing complementary, sequential, complementary or joint funding, allowing also a much easier use of seeds of excellence, allowing Lithuania to decide to use part of its allocation under structural funds for participating in partnerships, and allowing also, if you so decide, to transfer part of your envelope into Horizon Europe. And here, let me maybe just note that last possibility, because it is one which I think could be over time particularly impactful. The idea here would be that you could decide, this is of course entirely optional, there's no obligation whatsoever, but you could decide to transfer a fraction of your regional policy envelope into Horizon Europe for Lithuanian beneficiaries. I think this would particularly be applicable to mono beneficiaries, European Research Council or EIC Council beneficiaries, for example. And the idea would be that for those Lithuanian bidders which are not directly funded under the program, but are still over the level of excellence, so your seals of excellence, in fact, that those could be funded directly in the program through that national envelope. And the benefit of that, as compared to a classical seal of excellence where this is done in Lithuania, the added value is that this project then is picked up by the agency, is fully managed by the agency, so that's a clear simplification. But I think much more important than that, these projects then are not a seal of excellence, they are a full ERC or EIC project. And in terms of label, visibility, recognition, with structuring impact also in the research system, I think this is really valuable. So I would like to invite you to look at that option, the modalities of which were discussed at the seminars, clarified at the seminar. And I expect that several widening countries will look very attentively at that option, and we'll see down the road how many will decide to use it. So the program, beyond its structure, which is well known, will also, we hope, have a real big impact jointly with structural funds in allowing you to continue to create a research and innovation system which provides outcomes and excellence for Lithuania. The structure of the program, I think, is well known. I'm not going to cover the European Innovation Council at all, as Mark will do it in a moment. I don't think I need to cover the European Research Council, which remains the biggest part of the program. I'm happy to say that at the end of the negotiation, it's the biggest part of the program, and it will continue to allow us to produce the best science in the world, of which many components will, I have no doubt, come also from Lithuania. Marie Curie is well known too, and infrastructures too. So let me finish my brief presentation or speech with one comment on missions, following the reply from Mariya a moment ago. I think missions are going to be an important part of Horizon Europe, and one which, if you want, illustrates, and I hope will exemplify, what we hope to do with Horizon Europe, which is to connect research and innovation outcomes with public policies and outcomes in society. The idea of cancer, soils, oceans, cities, and oceans is, of course, to use Horizon Europe to mobilize researchers across Europe to produce knowledge and technology. That's, of course, where the mission is anchored in the program Horizon Europe, but not as such for these outcomes to then translate into action on the ground. I mean, Mariya spoke of 200 climate-adapted regions in Europe by 2030. This is a very tall order. Research and technological innovation will clearly help and drive these transformations, but they then need to take place with investments, change in society, in territorial organization, in the regions themselves. And that is beyond research. The same goes for 100 climate neutral cities. I hope there will be interests in cities in Lithuania, Vilnius, where we are, I think virtually today, I hope will be interested and bid for that. The idea here is that these 100 cities would, of course, benefit from research support in the first years, but would then, with other instruments at EU level, and hopefully also with support at national level, then invest in their transformation to become climate neutral by 2030. So if you want these 5 missions, they are about setting a very concrete target, and I think we are nearly there. One which is set with citizens, one which speaks to the broader public as well, so as to, if you want to capture their imagination, that's man on the moon or woman on Mars, which is the origin of these missions. But then also demonstrate, maybe to finance ministers, but certainly also to the broader public, that research and innovation, as I illustrated at the beginning with the vaccines, makes a difference for our lives, makes a difference for how our societies can deal with the challenges they are confronted with. And with that, I hope also attract a lot of support in the public and politically to continue to invest in research and innovation. So it's a real policy platform anchored in research, using research outcomes, but then at all levels of government in Europe, really allowing to accompany the transformations of our continent. It will be certainly for cities, regions, and member states to decide how intensely they will engage in the missions. But what I observe today is a great interest of researchers, but also beyond, to use this new instrument in the European toolbox, if I can say that like this, where all actors can come together and make a real difference. So that's also beyond research and science, what those missions are about. And I leave a minute for questions and answers if you think that is still possible, and I apologize for not having left more. Thank you very much.
Mr. Paquet, for such a perfect overview of highlights relevant for Lithuania and also other member states. And also for noticing that these challenging times are also times for opportunity, and having its own success stories, such as BioNTech vaccine, which was in fact funded by the framework program, which I think it's amazing. I think we can all agree that Europe is a powerhouse in science, but on the other hand, it has also a major innovation productivity paradox, right? And then it's a challenge. A challenge is to bring these ideas to market and scale them, as you just noticed it. So the European Innovation Council is a new element with a new approach to address these challenges, and you yourself have called it a European Unicorns Factory. So my question is, do you think EIC will make a difference, and what are the key success factors in your opinion?
Well, Yes, I absolutely think that it will make a big difference in the next few years. In fact, I think we have already in the pilot phase now, which ran in 2019 and in 2020, a pilot phase which ran really at scale, because we devoted more than $1 billion of Horizon 2020 to piloting the European Innovation Council. We created the agency in form of a task force in the DG nearly at scale also. So this first year and a half, I think, and Mark will certainly say it even better, I think have shown at least two things. I mean, firstly, that the positioning of the European Innovation Council on deep tech is the right one, deep tech innovation, the one where you connect science with innovation, where you connect engineering with digital developments. This is an area where our competitors struggle, where private ventures also struggle because this is risky and the science is difficult to assess. The positioning proved to be very complementary to what is happening in member states and what is done in the private sector. So that's the first thing. But secondly, more importantly than that, we had more than 14,000 applicants of great quality. If you just take the projects which were ranked as excellent, we could have spent in the first year and a half the entire budget of Horizon Europe in innovation. So just to show that there is an amazing demand out there, which confirms what you rightly called the innovation paradox, which is that Europe is extremely strong on science, and Europe is also very strong in supporting the emergence of startups. We create more startups than anyone else because everywhere around universities, industries at regional level, including in Lithuania, we have structures in place which support that. Our challenge is to harness this amazing potential and then allow it to grow fast and grow in Europe. And this is where the European Innovation Council, I expect, is going to make a major difference, and Mark will certainly tell you how.
Thank you so much. Another question is a little bit trickier. So how can we overcome biases against entrepreneurs from less known regions of Europe? What do you think?
Yes, it's a real good question, and I think the way to, I mean, firstly, I think that the bias, if it exists, is now receding a lot. I've been traveling across before the pandemic. I've been traveling across all 27 member states. I've been now in this job for 3 years. In fact, 3 years tomorrow. And during the first 2 years, I went absolutely everywhere. And what I observed there was that indeed there are still divergences in science. And I think we really need across all EU member states to continue to invest in this science capacity. And there is progress made in Lithuania. But what I also observed is that on innovation, the contrast or the divergences were much less than on science, much less visible. On the contrary, I saw amazing innovations when I visited Vilnius and other parts of Europe. And with what we also do with the European Innovation Council is this two-stage evaluation possibility, where then companies, founders have the opportunity to make their pitch. And frankly, when you are in front of a team, wherever it comes from, this makes no difference whatsoever. So the setup itself, I think, certainly can deal with it. Having said that, if you look at the hard data, there are still hotspots of innovation not fully distributed across all EU member states. Obviously, we are not aiming at geographical spread and balance. We are aiming at promoting the best innovators, but we also want to ensure, and this is where the EIC is now going, we want to ensure that all innovators in Europe have really the capacity to present their ideas. And this applies geographically, but also applies to gender biases. We don't have enough women yet who come forward with their innovations. So the EIC intends to really put a lot of attention and also schemes to support the project preparations everywhere in Europe, so that we really ensure that everyone can come forward with great project preparation. And then, of course, the most impactful innovations will be supported by the EIC.
Thank you so much. This sounds really great. And I think we can be optimistic about the future of innovation and deep tech in Europe. And I hope that we Lithuanians will have a chance to contribute to that future.
So, Mr.
Paquet, yes, we are already. Thank you so much for being here with us today and finding a time. And we're moving on with our program. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much.
Bye. So to continue our plenary session, I invite Dr. Noorma, who is the Director General-elect of the Estonian Researcher Council, to talk about how Horizon Europe can help strengthen the national policy agenda. Please welcome.
Again, good afternoon, and dear colleagues in Europe, in Lithuania, Latvia, in Estonia. So let's start again. Estonia has been doing very well in our previous Horizon 2020, and we are pleased to see that our researchers and as well our enterprises are keen to apply for grants and that they compete successfully. Our net revenue has more than doubled since FP7, and all key figures we have been rising considerably. Estonia has a very high number of applications per researchers, so that only Malta and Cyprus are ahead. And that raises the question that are we really reached our limit? Our goal set before the start of Horizon 2020 were first to receive funding per capita that is equal to the European average, and secondly, increase the proportion of transnationally coordinated research in our total government budget allocation for research and development. At that time, we were far behind in achieving these goals, but now we have succeeded in both. Estonia is a very small country, and our Horizon 2020 budget share ranks 21st among 28 countries. However, if we normalize it per GDP or per capita, we see complementary different picture. Still, also these kinds of money-based indicators are easy to measure, and they do show some trends. And this graph makes us look good. We should look more deeply in our participation to see where we stand. We have reason to be happy about the success in Horizon 2020, but like in all Baltic countries, the share of widening instruments in the success story is considerable. Would we be able to be successful without these instruments? Probably not. As we can see from the visualization, we have quite different distribution of projects compared to the rest of Europe. We have similar proportion of projects in social challenges pillar as well as in industrial leadership pillar. But we have demonstrated considerably less success in excellent science pillar, and this is mostly due to very low success rate in applying for the European research grants. In Estonia, we have only 8 grants, and the education success rate for Estonia is only 5%. It is really the lowest in full Horizon program. Instead, we have 21% of projects in spreading excellence and widening pillar that composes just 1.5% of the total Horizon 2020 budget. So our next very big goal is really that in the new European Horizon, we would like to be more successful and strengthen our national agenda together with European instruments. So where are our starting points? Where to start? I guess we have a first priority to strengthen our excellence. And you can see here the distribution of our high-level science publications. We have very many topics that are very relevant to today, to the big challenges that humans face. So we have a lot of topics where we can really rely on the excellence. And learning also from our Lithuanian experience, we plan to implement Seal of Excellence in the Marie Sklodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowship for future strengthening on the excellence base. The second important basis for the strengthening actions is really to rely on all stakeholders. Here you can see the example of new Horizon 2020 project what just started in December last year, and this is about the Copernicus program calibration validation system what is built. And you can see that Estonia is one of the partners in this big consortium. So the important message here is that European space program, what is also carrying out Copernicus activities, is also partly relying on the New Horizon program, and our Estonian space program has also put one important issue to the Copernicus services, data and future development. So all these instruments together strengthen our international collaboration. It also includes collaboration inside of Estonia between different ministries and different programs, not only research program, but also other important programs relevant for the future. Very important for us is in our strengthening agenda to rely on the synergies. Already in the beginning of Horizon 2020, it was clear that much more involvement and commitment of the member states was expected in implementing the framework program. That is when we saw that we need to involve our ministries more closely to making research and development policy. And there is also need to educate them. It was also a way how to increase the budget dedicated to the coordinated research. We started with building the capacity in the ministries by creating research and development counselors' positions in each ministry. And we used for that the funding from EU structural funds. As one specific action, we created a governmental research study program. First, to train these officers. Second, to build a network between ministries and research and development community. And third, and this has proven to be right choice of the strategy. Two important strategic goals in research and development for Estonia were in previous strategic planning period: high-level research and active international research and development and innovation cooperation. We have been actively promoting Horizon 2020 among our researchers to achieve these goals. We have several support schemes which build synergies between national funding and Horizon 2020. We started an increasing mobility scheme, for example, which has several support lines to boost cooperation in European research grants, ERA chairs, and European Institute of Innovation and Technology, but also use structural funds to support participation in ERA network. One important issue is also that we can strengthen national agenda when we are solving common goals. So strategic planning process of Horizon Europe included that each member state had expressed their commitment in future European partnerships. This was an example for our scientific councils program. And we passed this exam successfully and linked our national agenda in coordinated and synergic manner for contribution to solve these global challenges. And Estonian priority areas in 2021-2023, all these are listed in the screen here, align well with planned EU partnerships. Most of the partnerships contribute to the more than one priority area, and therefore the ministries who are involved and responsible for these activities, there is big number of them. So that scientific achievements and goals have been very many ways linked strongly. Of course, and the most important, I guess, here is that the cooperation is very fruitful between different stakeholders and between different countries. During the current COVID-19 pandemic, our Brussels office and also our Department of International Cooperation found themselves in a very difficult situation. It is certainly familiar to all partners involved in international cooperation, and there are still applicants who need information and have a clear desire to apply for project. But suddenly it was impossible to organize info days or live brokerage events to meet new partners. Therefore, Estonian and Lithuanian liaison offices for research and development in Brussels joined forces and started to organize virtual events together. Together we have more ideas and managed to reach to the wider audience, improve the quality of our events, and also involve best speakers and relevant organizations. We try to offer opportunities that are not currently available, like web-based brokerage events instead of physical meeting with more potential project partners. The registered number of our last virtual event was more than 400. And to be honest, having such event in Estonia only, we could have expected about probably 50 participants. So we conclude that these difficult times also offer opportunities for a new kind of successful collaboration between Baltic states. So before I conclude my presentation, I really would like to express my hopes that our countries will continue to work closely together in different formats that will strengthen national agenda and create synergies in the European research area. For example, we have recently established a joint Baltic research program to stimulate long-term collaboration, capacity and competence building events, and to take a step forward for future collaboration projects in EU and national level. And Lithuania, as current president of the Council of Baltic Sea State, is also ready to host a final conference of the Baltic Sea Science Network Powerhouse project in June to develop the future vision and concept and how to fund and manage this network. From this year, we also plan to engage a Latvian office to our activities. The first joint event is already prepared, and Latvia will open their office in Brussels in April. So there is so many new ideas born, and we just wait time to implement them. So finally, I would like to thank you all for this attention and inviting me to your event, because I am really starting as head of this Research Council only day after tomorrow. So I wish all of us success and strength in implementing all these great plans and cooperation. And current constraints caused by virus have demonstrated more than ever how important it is to open discussion and continue joining forces. So difficulties actually teach us more than comfortable life, and let's learn this lesson and implement our best tools for the better life and sustainability in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Noorma, for such a comprehensive presentation. And I'm also really glad to hear that Baltic cooperation flourishes, which I think it's really important, is joining forces in these challenging times and making the best of the opportunities that are handed to us. Unfortunately, we do not have time for a Q&A session right now, but I will invite Dr. Noorma for final remarks after the panel discussion. And now, with our last video presentation before the discussion, I present Professor Mark Ferguson, who is Director General of the Science Foundation in Ireland, and also chair of the European Innovation Council Advisory Board.
So thank you for asking me to participate in the launch of Horizon Europe in Lithuania. Horizon Europe is a fantastic new European program. It will provide major opportunities for researchers, for entrepreneurs, and for companies in all European countries, including Lithuania and including Ireland. And I think it's really important for countries such as Lithuania and Ireland, smaller countries that can collaborate. They can collaborate with larger countries. We can collaborate with each other. We can grow and learn and get a really amazing opportunity for all of us. And I really hope that the Irish research community reach out to colleagues in Lithuania, and also that Lithuanian colleagues will look at Ireland, as well as, of course, other European countries, as potential collaborators in these new Horizon Europe programs. Of course, Horizon Europe has 3 pillars. It has excellent research. The research pillar, largely characterized by the European Research Council, which is very successful, bottom-up, fundamental research for distinguished people around Europe. The second pillar, largely around missions to address societal and economic problems, challenges that we all need to respond to. And then the third pillar, which is around innovation, particularly around the European Innovation Council, which is a new instrument, a bit like the ERC in the new programme. And as it's my honour to chair the board of the European Innovation Council, I'm going to say a few more words about that because it's a new instrument and also because it's very close to my heart. So the European Innovation Council, this new instrument, builds on years of success. It builds on the success of the Future Emerging Technologies programme called FET, and also of the Small Businesses Initiative that was within the European programme, the SME instrument. So building on those successes, the EIC has been in pilot mode since 2018. And during that time, it supported more than 5,700 startups and SMEs from right across Europe. Those companies have gone on to raise over 5 billion euros in follow-up investments. And in the pilot, for about every euro that the European Innovation Council has invested, they've all gone on to raise about 3 euros from the private market. And they've doubled their number of employees. So that's really important. Most of those companies, 90% of them or more, addressing the UN Sustainable Goals, and at least 36 of them responding to the current COVID crisis. So in Horizon Europe, the budget for the European Innovation Council is just over 10 billion euros. And building on the success of the pilot, we want to do even more. We want to do even more for companies and for researchers within Europe. So the EIC, the European Innovation Council, aims to do for innovation what the European Research Council has done for research. The EIC is Europe's most ambitious innovation initiative. A budget of over 10 billion for breakthrough technologies, for game-changing innovations, contributing to the European Green Deal and also to the European digitisation and economic recovery agendas. It's a unique programme. It's a unique European programme combining a kind of DARPA-like approach for breakthrough technology with an accelerator for innovative SMEs and startups. It's got, for the first time, a fund to invest in companies, an early stage fund for a deep tech investment within Europe. And it will support innovations from any field, at any time, from anywhere within the European Union. This is a bottom-up approach, a bit like the European Research Council, a bottom-up approach to innovation. So a particular focus on deep tech and disruptive innovations, but any fields from any European countries, anytime. With an impact fund, this impact fund will pull through the innovation potential of other European programs, whether it's coming from the European Research Council, whether it's coming from missions, or whether it's coming from national programs. So this will all enhance the European ecosystem. And if you think about this, for startups, there is the EIC Accelerator financing. So there are 3 broad programs within the European Innovation Council. Pathfinder, which is about breakthrough research for researchers. Transition, which is transitioning from research to innovation. And then Accelerator, which is really about founding and scaling up your business. So the EIC Accelerator program is aimed to be investor and founder friendly. There's up to 17.5 million euros available for an individual project. That's 2.5 million in grant and up to 15 million in equity out of the European Innovation Council. This is founder friendly. This is financial support. It's also free mentoring. It's got access to leading companies, to leading investors. Very simple application process, a short pitch available at any time and notification within 2 to 3 months. It's very competitive, like the European Research Council. About 200 to 300 startups will be supported each year, and this will be in high-risk, high-impact areas. We will often want to crowd in other investors. We want to de-risk the investment. We want to work with other people and with national programs. For innovative researchers, then turning to the Pathfinder part of the European Innovation Council, these are multidisciplinary research teams with the most visionary science for technological breakthroughs. So they will interact with the European Innovation Council program managers. These program managers are a kind of DARPA-like individuals who will manage portfolios of projects. And hopefully some of those projects will lead to discoveries and inventions which can be commercializable. And if they are, you can move to the transition funding, which is what it says on the tin, transitioning from research to innovation. And then for you, those of you from the investment community, the European Innovation Council offers access to a pipeline of investment opportunity. If we really want to crowd in, we really want to work with the private sector and crowd in that investment. We want to share the risk. We want to be an early investor. We want to be able to take these, a patient investor, to take these technologies, these breakthrough technologies through. And of course, we will want to do very deep scientific and other due diligence, and we want to structure the co-investments in a friendly way. And then for those of you from existing companies that are looking at the European programs, I mean, the EIC offers this window into the most innovative startups from across Europe, from these very early technologies. We want to work with companies in terms of not only investment, but also crowding in their expertise. They may well be in the supply chain, they may well help with sales, and so on. So the European Innovation Council, a unique new approach to European innovation. It's going to be a hallmark of innovation excellence in the same way that the ERC is for research excellence. We really want to overcome biases. We want to overcome biases against female entrepreneurs and innovators. There are too few female entrepreneurs and innovators. We really want to stimulate that. We also want to overcome biases against less well-developed regions within Europe. We're really welcoming of applications from right across all regions of Europe. We want to crowd in, as I said before, private investment. This is a deep tech European investment fund, and we aim to crowd in at least 5 times our budget. So the budget is 10 billion. If we're successful, we'll crowd in another 50 billion, and that's really important for the development of Europe and to be competitive with other major superpowers such as China and the United States, where Europe can play a role. Wanting to act as an impact fund, pulling forward the innovations from the research programs, both within Europe, but also within national authorities, and becoming the investor of choice and the funder of choice for visionary researchers and entrepreneurs. It's essentially one innovation community with Pathfinder, Transition, and the Accelerator. It's a really agile, dynamic approach to European Union funding. It's going to provide applicants with a way into disruptive technologies, but also to grow and scale their businesses. And it's also going to address important problems in responsible ways. A real focus on sustainable technologies, on the green agenda, on digitalization. And isn't that fantastic? I mean, what could be better than doing cutting-edge research, translating that into a commercial opportunity that creates employment, that grows the economy, and that actually does good for the planet and for human health at the same time? So that's a few words about the European Innovation Council. It's one of the 3 pillars of Horizon Europe. The Horizon Europe programme itself providing really exciting opportunities for researchers, for innovators, for those who want to address critical questions in the missions, and for companies and investors to come alongside in this important contribution of scientific research to our welfare. So I thank you for the opportunity to participate in the Lithuanian launch, and I really hope that Lithuania does well, and I hope there are really great partnerships with Ireland as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you to Professor Ferguson for such an inspiring and encouraging presentation of a very, very important instrument, which I think it's crucial for Europe and for Lithuania as well. That brings us to the end of our plenary session, and I thank you to all the speakers for your excellent and inspiring presentations. And tomorrow, as I said, we will have separate sessions about the pillars of Horizon Europe, so you will have a chance to ask more specific questions and get into the details of these pillars and instruments. And now we will continue with a panel discussion on how green and digital transitions of Lithuania could be accelerated by using Horizon Europe as a platform. Today we've gathered an impressive set of panelists from members of parliament to business leaders, all of whose experience in research and innovation is firsthand. Welcome everyone, and first of all, before we start our discussion, I would like to remind the participants who are watching us on YouTube and other channels to use the opportunity to ask questions, because we will take at every chance we have to try to answer them during the panel discussion. And first, I would like to start with Professor Artūras Žukauskas, who is a member of our national parliament, a chair of the Committee on Education and Science, and also a former rector of Vilnius University, so he really knows what he is talking about. Professor Žukauskas, so how can we improve and encourage more active participation of Lithuanian researchers in the Horizon Europe? Should we do something about our science evaluation systems? What are your ideas?
Thank you, moderator. Hello, everybody. I'm very glad to participate in this distinguishing discussion. And to my understanding, this international agenda, which is opened by the Horizon Europe, for Lithuania must be used as an opportunity to strengthen our national agenda. It sounds like paradox, but without national agenda, we cannot successfully contribute to the international agenda. So starting with the main challenges we have in Lithuania in the future decades, I see two main challenges. One is connected with the climate change and the green transformation of economy, while the second is connected with the digitalization, in particular with the appearance of artificial intelligence, which means that we will need to transform our education system also and to adapt our young generation for the conditions when the professions appear and disappear rapidly. And one needs not only to have special knowledge for today, but one must have very special skills for acquiring new knowledge and new skills that are even not known at the present. So what we can do in Lithuania, first, we must understand that the main risks coming from this new initiative or on European horizon is the risk that we had already so far. This is a risk of absorption of funds rather than creation new values. And also another risk is too strong sticking to international agenda without paying attention to the national agenda, which I told earlier. So in terms of basketball, which is the game we play in everybody in Lithuania. So once we want to participate in EuroLeague, we need to have a very strong national league. in basketball, it's very well understood. And any Lithuanian will tell you that this is the right way of making things. But when we come to research and innovation, so this is not understood everywhere. And we have a lot of myths that just participating in Horizons will help us, and we need to invest into our skills of getting more and more projects in Horizon and so on. But actually we need another approach, and we need using this opportunity for improving our national agenda, strengthening it. And I see the main 2 points. One of those is the improving of the national research. That means that we need to initiate national programs, very strong national programs through the Lithuanian Research Council. First on education, with a special emphasis on digitalization and the appearance of artificial intelligence and Internet of everything, including cats, dogs, and cows, whatever we have in Lithuania. So, and we also need to increase our gross government's budget allocations for research and development from the present approximately 0.7% of GDP to about 1.5% of GDP in the forthcoming decade. The second point is the manpower, or this human factor, that in particular in Lithuania, what we need to do is to increase the funding of university and college students, the tertiary education. The funding per student must increase from about 20% of GDP per capita, what we have today, to about 40% of GDP per capita, which is the standard of OECD. The second point, we need to improve our legislation and to improve our conditions for researchers in order the researcher career would become very attractive in Lithuania, as well as teachers' career, the researcher's career and the researcher's profession must be one of the most prestigious in this country in order to catch up with the development that is proposed for us by these new initiatives. And in particular, we need to reconsider our managing of innovations. In terms of that, we must switch from the paperwork-centered innovation management to innovator-centered innovation management. We must understand that innovations do not appear from ministries, from councils, from project managements and grant schemes, but innovations appear and result from innovators. And the main emphasis must be put on the educating and developing innovators. So thank you for this nice discussion, and I will try to participate further in this panel discussion.
Thank you, Professor Žukauskas. Indeed, a number of previous research studies have corroborated what you just said, that successful participation in framework programs depends a lot on the excellence of a national research and innovation system, and indeed innovations are developed by people. So I completely agree, and I think the next person that I'm going to ask a question is the best place to continue this discussion. How can we best prepare for the next for the 9th framework program? So I welcome Mr. Gintautas Jakštas, who is Vice Minister of Education, Science and Sports, so a person in charge of developing our education and science systems. So, Mr. Jakštas, the Lithuanian government has actually designed the Horizon Acceleration Program that Minister Jurgita Šiugždinienė has mentioned. as a part of the government's program. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What measures are planned and how can it lead to better integration of research and innovation into sectoral policies?
Thank you, dear moderator, dear researchers and innovators. The Lithuanian government has singled out the most important priorities for the country's progress, which include ambitious reforms for the field of science and education and innovation. Taking into account the country-specific recommendations and the advice of the OECD, we envisage the development of contemporary innovation ecosystems in the areas of health, digitalization, and Green Deal. In this regard, we plan investments into infrastructure projects, including startup incubators, as well as creation of mission-oriented research and innovation programs. The selected thematic areas are well in line with the Lithuanian Smart Specialization Strategy, Twin Transition, and Horizon Europe mission areas. Therefore, we believe that these programs will promote uptake of research results and the diffusion of innovation. The transnational cooperation will be favored through the open calls for proposals. Ministry of Education, Science and Sport, together with the Ministry of Economy and Innovation, with joint efforts created a program dedicated to foster Lithuanian participation in Horizon Europe. The objective is to encourage Lithuanian researchers to participate more actively in the Horizon Europe program, and it is linked to the goal that research and innovation in the country should be focused on ecological, social, and economic changes so that the country's science and business have the opportunity to become international competitive and make a significant contribution to address global challenges. The aim of the Horizon Europe Acceleration Program is to enhance Lithuania's participation in Horizon Europe program by developing high-quality application skills, strengthening the international competitiveness and integration of research and study institutions, SMEs, and other potential applicants into international R&D and innovation activities and partnerships, and developing interdisciplinary cooperation. So this plan covers a range of activities, including preparation of feasibility studies for potential participants in Horizon Europe action groups, European Innovation Council, or European Institute of Innovation and Technology Instruments. Providing support for the preparation of high-quality applications and to enable researchers to develop their competences in this field, supporting researchers' networking activities, strengthening and increasing of the Lithuanian National Contact Points Network, to continue support higher education and research institutions and SMEs that have received the Seal of Excellence label, allocating co-financing funds to Lithuanian higher education and research institutions for participation in Horizon Europe projects. And also establishment of the Scientific Officers Network in governmental institutions. The network of officers will aim to develop a horizontal approach to science, technology, and innovation in ministries by integrating it into the ministerial policy-making processes and promoting greater national involvement in Horizon Europe initiatives, missions, and partnerships, which would enable better coordination in societal, economic, climate change, and other challenges. So we have quite wide range of activities which should promote Lithuanian participation in Horizon Europe. We hope that these activities will actually make a big change compared to the previous period. Thank you all for this discussion, and I'll stay tuned in if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Minister, for this comprehensive presentation, and I hope we will have a chance to come back to it and discuss it in more detail. And I am particularly happy to hear that we are going to have the scientific officers network in all governmental institutions. As we just heard from the Dr. Noorma's presentation, this is what Estonia did a while ago, so possibly it can really make a difference. Now, as you know, there are many environmental initiatives in the European Horizon program. As an example, 4 out of 5 Horizon missions are related to the environment and the new Bauhaus initiative. So I would like to ask Mr. Darius Kvedaravičius, who is the Vice Minister for Environment in Lithuania, how would you assess the opportunities provided by the program, and how can we seek to use them in solving environmental issues relevant to Lithuania? Please, the floor is yours. Just a quick note that Mr. Kvedaravičius will use some slides to present the approach by the Ministry of Environment, and the slide will launch in a second.
Difficulties. And first of all, of course, good day to everyone. Many thanks to organizers for inviting me to the event and the honor to take part in the discussion. At the Ministry of the Environment, we are more than happy to see that in the new period, Horizon Europe is so strongly focused on environmental issues. If I'm correct, over 35% of Horizon Europe spendings will contribute to climate objectives. Priorities such as Green Deal and digitalization will help us to withstand present day's challenges, hopefully to reduce an administrative burden and to become stronger and improve the lives of our communities. I believe that mission of adaptation to climate change and societal transformation will help us to implement national climate change agenda and to increase our resilience. The wide spectrum of possible projects allows us to raise and hopefully answer the questions about the necessary change in daily life of our society. In the Lithuanian government program implementation plan, there is a task of the first Lithuanian city, climate neutral city, before 2030, which perfectly corresponds with the initiative of 100 climate neutral cities and the mission of climate neutral and smart cities. This mission will drive a systemic transformation of urban environment, and we hope that at least one Lithuanian city will join the club. Now, if you don't mind, I will present you in these slides activities carried out by the Ministry of the Environment in the related field.
Please go ahead.
Yep. We are creating a project in the field of digitalization of construction sector, which will result in the creation of open detailed foundation of spatial data, the creation of centralized 3D built environment for smart cities, the adaptation of state-level information systems and registers for the application of building information modeling methods. The creation of technological solutions for the connecting and synchronizing the spatial data and asset management system of municipalities. Here you can see long-term goal, the smart digital twins of the cities. It will create possibilities for more effective evaluation of investments, managing and maintenance, use, planning, monitoring of assets. To develop solutions for smart cities, innovation based on foundation of open spatial data and further developing of these solutions. It will enable the residents to participate in the processes of territorial planning and management of construction projects. It will offer centralized solutions on the national level, which means less expenses for municipalities and private sector for investments, relevant but local solutions. And of course, it will open the field for innovations and business implementations. Here you can find on this website, statyba40.lt, you can find more information on initiatives regarding the digitalization of the Lithuanian construction sector. And the second topic I would like to talk about is the new European Bauhaus in Lithuania. The new Bauhaus initiative by European Commission drove a lot of attention in Lithuania. On the 25th of March, there was organized the first national discussion about this initiative, and by using digital tools, it was possible to facilitate and process faster and involve a lot of organizations. The Ministry of Environment invested in the development of the new European Bauhaus webpage to help place new ideas and highlight the existing projects in Lithuania that met NEB values. The vision of the ministry is to further facilitate the process by organizing workshops as well as hopefully initiating discussions with neighboring countries. Also to help the non-governmental organizations take the lead role in movement. There is a felt need to have more interdisciplinary and new European Bauhaus, interdisciplinary discussions, and European Bauhaus can serve as a platform to organize and gather professionals from different fields together. We believe that Horizon Europe is capable to become an important financial resource on the way to implementation of national energy and climate change agendas for innovative and creative solutions. It can help to transform our cities and local communities. Therefore, we'd like to address Lithuanian science and research society, encourage participation in it. And thus, I can see my time is up. So thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you, Vice Minister Kvedaravičius. I hope we will have some time to come back to you as well and discuss several of these things that you presented. Next up, I would like to invite Professor Romas Baronas, who is chair of our research council in Lithuania. And Professor Baronas, the EU promotes a so-called stairway of excellence, meaning greater synergies between the national and European initiatives and programs. Synergies were mentioned several times today by different presenters. So I want to ask you what model of research programs, in light of this need for better synergies, what model of research programs would be appropriate for achieving more effective participation of Lithuanian researchers in Horizon Europe?
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the floor, dear Agnė. I would like to point out several aspects from the perspective of the role of research. Without the input from the research, we, as managing authorities and society in general, will not be able to reach any ambitious goals leading to the long-term effects and real changes. We should acknowledge that research remains in Horizon Europe as a core element that will enable green and digital transitions. Research is regarded as a truthful source, bringing us solutions that are based on scientific knowledge. Even when we talk about innovations, we should concentrate on science-based or new technology-based innovations. During the process of science-based innovation, even a new technology platform may be established and a series of applications might be invented. Moreover, the role of humanities and social sciences are of the biggest importance now, when we face huge goals of technological progress. If the society does not know what green and digital transitions are for, if we as a society will lack technological education, the planned investments will not be able to make real changes. That is a message from many leading scientists from all over the world. For instance, Lithuanian genetic researchers, and in particular Professor Virgilijus Šiugždinienis, who was awarded the prestigious Kavli Prize for his DNA editing tool, says that we are now capable to modify human genes, but who can tell us why we should do this? The mission of humanities and social sciences is particularly to fulfill the vacuum of societal understanding and give clearer perspectives of envisaged actions. So high expectations and wishes to use technological achievements would work for the societal progress. Even moreover, we well know that more interactions, wider collaboration, and consolidated efforts are needed if we want to achieve an impact. Here, the links between Horizon Europe missions and national research programs may be indeed beneficial. This could help not only to focus the efforts of other researchers, but also to help our government to achieve its ambitious political agenda and engage wider society. This calls us to put efforts into making the dialogue between ministries and researcher community more active. Another aspect is related to synergy schemes as a tool for consolidate finance, promote and support participation in Horizon Europe. Lithuania has an experience implementing Seal of Excellence scheme during the previous period. More elaborated synergy schemes, such as co-funded partnerships, would allow us to focus our resources instead of using split budgets, which are not efficient when we face ambitious aims such as green and digital transitions. Other means of support, not only the financial ones, are important in helping our participants to be more active and successful in Horizon Europe. For example, in 2017, the Research Council of Lithuania has established liaison office for research and innovation in Brussels Lino. The Research Council has also strengthened the activities and resources of its national contact points. We wish our researchers successful participation in Horizon Europe and closer cooperation among different disciplines, sectors, including the government. This national Horizon Europe launch event shows that more coherent actions are possible. Thank you very much.
Professor Baronas, I hope we'll have a chance to chat a little bit later. I have a couple of questions from the audience for you and also for Vice Minister Jakštas. But right now, I would like to invite Mr. Vidmantas Janulevičius, who is the president of the Lithuanian Confederation of Industrialists. And as we discussed several times already today, that Horizon Europe is no more just a research program, it's an innovation program, and it's a very, very important switch, I think. So I would like to ask you, to what extent is Lithuanian industry interested in the program? Which of the instruments seem most relevant, and overall, what are the key factors for success for taking the best out of these unprecedented opportunities.
Hello, colleagues. It was very nice to listen your speeches and talks and thoughts about all the things which is coming under the Horizon Europe. It's interesting that by my personal experience, my company, BOD Group, participated in a lot of Horizon programs, and we have some quite successful stories, especially on the research, on the different coatings, let's say. And what is our experience from the industrial side? Would be nice, of course, to have as much as possible applied sciences, which will be much more closer to the industry to create really added value for our countries, for our European Union inside, because as Lithuania, it's a manufacturing country. 22% of the GDP, it's manufacturing things and industrialist things, and our members, around 4,000 companies of Lithuanian Confederation of Industrialists, they do around 85% of whole export, which we have at these stages. And for example, during the pandemic, Lithuania's results was quite good in comparison, because we have been just the second country after the Ireland, which has the plus. Only one country has the plus because they have a lot of pharmaceutical companies there. And of course, during the COVID situation, during the pandemic situations, they have really nice exports. Lithuania is the second. Our GDP was reduced just 0.8%, and it's second result inside EU. That means industry is still strong. It's a major locomotive for the whole our economy. And it's very important now to transfer all this economy, all this industry to the new way, which declare the Europe Unions. It's a digitalized, circular economy and green economy. All these three pillars is very important for the industry, because I think this is our possibility. We don't have any fossil fuel resources as some countries, third countries has. You know, we can create this added value, especially inside our countries. I'm talking about the whole region, Baltic states, Scandinavia, and Middle and Eastern Europe part. That means this green transformation could create the added value inside. We can create much more jobs inside our countries, inside European Union. And it's very important that Horizon Europe would give this possibility directly to transfer this industry, to help this industry, especially with the applied sciences. How we can improve our, of course, competition, how we can improve our people with the training, with the learning, how to do in these directions. And I think all these three pillars is very important. That means the general idea would be as much as possible to be closer to the real business, how we can convert some industrial companies to the green, digitalized, and we need support for that. In general, of course, it's very nice solutions for the manufacturing side now is coming, because with the digitalization, I think the future of the industry, it's a direct sales, B2C, business to customers, because we have around 500 million of population inside under the European Union together with United Kingdom as a direct sales, you know, and in these cases, we can really save some costs from the production side and on the consumer side. And I think we need to be prepared for this digital transformation, direct sales. We don't need to have anything between. Sooner or later, e-commerce will be the main direct channel for the industry, for the factories to sell them goods to the final end users. And it would be nice that Horizon Europe would be as a really the main, I would say so, after the emergency financial support, it's for millions of firms of Access Europe. Programs like Horizon Europe is a key to prepare Europe's future growth and prosperity. And we hope that this will be possible together with the Lithuanian industry. And we're inviting all the possible sides to work constructive on that kind of direction, that we would feel, everybody from us would feel really added value inside our countries, inside European Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Janulevičius. I think your what you say sends a very strong message that Lithuanian industry sees Horizon Europe as a huge opportunity, that digital transformation is really important to take industry to the next level, also B2C and other aspects that you mentioned. So now the ball is in the hands of the ministries and they have to help industry to use these opportunities to the maximum level that is possible. So thank you one more time. And I would like to invite Mr. Ričardas Valančiauskas, who is now the best person to react to the industry's call, as he is the director of the Innovation and Industry Department at the Ministry of Economy and Innovation. Also used to work for quite a few years at our Agency for Innovation, so he knows the whole innovation landscape and the policy instruments inside and out. So, Mr. Valančiauskas, you heard the main players in our innovation ecosystem. So I wonder, how can we respond to this call? How can we encourage the participation of Lithuanian business in the European Horizon programs, such as EU partnerships, digitization initiatives, and what instruments has the ministry already planned? What is in store?
Dear colleagues, dear participants, it's my great honor to represent the Ministry of Economy and Innovation, and definitely innovation plays a big part in the upcoming Horizon Europe program. But firstly, I would like to deny or to stress, to deny a couple of myths or to stress out the importance of innovation. So first, I guess the word in Lithuania, at least, is that Horizon, or at least Horizon 2020, was the research program. But to deny that, I can tell a fact that at least 1/3 of the successful projects in the previous Horizon 2020 program comes out from the businesses, comes out from companies, from business associations, and so on. So it means that definitely business is already there, and the role of businesses will be even stronger in the upcoming Horizon Europe program. Another thing, and the myth that Lithuanians are bad at research and innovation. Again, I could deny it by using statistics, which is another form of lie, but still, the success rate shows that we are better than the EU average. So Lithuanian success rate is 14% compared to the 12% of the EU average. Even more, in some particular areas such as space, our success rate is 30%. So it means, again, that we are good at what we're doing currently in research and innovation activities. The only negative is that we are not active enough. And of course, another facts show that we are at the bottom regarding the funding received through Horizon 2020 so far. So I believe it shows just a lack of determination and ambition, both from our research community and business community as well. And again, Horizon Europe will be really focusing on innovation. So we will have a particular pillar number 3, innovative Europe, dedicated only for innovation. But not only that, the second pillar, targeting clusters and trying to deal with global challenges, is also for businesses there. And businesses must take those opportunities from this program. And the Ministry of Economy and Innovation sees a big and important role from the Horizon Europe program as well, because, well, it's additional instrument for us to boost our research and innovation performance of our country. And of course, there are many ways to do that. So I can actually tell that this package that the Ministry of Education and Science and Sports is already preparing in order to boost Lithuanian participation, the Ministry of Economy and Innovation is in this package as well. And through our perspective, the most important tools are strengthening, of course, our national contact point system, submitting enough resources to do the job properly. Another initiative where we are also planning to introduce some initiatives, introduce some steps, would be alignment of the national programs regarding the Horizon Europe. And we don't need to look very much further, starting from Seal of Excellence initiatives. It's a very good instrument from the European Commission, where the European Commission's experts evaluate the proposals, and they say, well, these are decent enough proposals to be funded, but the European Commission lacks of funding. But there, our country can step in with our funding and just help those ideas to be implemented and to be put in the existence, in reality. And there are some other important steps that we're going to take, and most importantly, networking activities, awareness raising about Lithuanian research and innovation achievements in European context, because another problem is that probably Europe is not aware about how good we are at research and innovation. So yeah, I see my time is up. So thank you for having me, and we'll wait for another input.
Thank you, Mr. Valančiauskas. Don't go away, as we are starting our discussion already. We have still a few minutes left. And I see one question from the audience, which I think is addressed to you. So the participants are asking, will there be any financial support measures for SMEs preparing applications for Horizon Europe? So Mr. Valančiauskas, I think it's this question is for you.
Yeah, so this is actually the same package that was already introduced before. With the help of the Ministry of Education, Science and Sports, we are introducing the package of instruments, and in this package there is an instrument dedicated for SMEs to prepare themselves in order to apply in the program. And it means that we are thinking about helping to prepare applications, to review them, and again, networking activities, which we already introduced recently in Lithuania. So definitely there is plan, and hopefully, and actually I'm sure it will be there. It's just a matter of time, and most likely by the end of this year or by the start of next year, we will have this instrument in place.
That's really sounds great. Thank you. Another question is dedicated to Professor Baronas and possibly Vice Minister Jakštas. So a few people are asking that, well, we have talked a lot about interdisciplinarity and the need for intersectoral collaboration because, you know, innovation can come from different places and not just research. So people are asking that at the moment, let's say artists or some end users are not eligible participants in the national research programs. Are there any plans to change that and open up national research programs to a wider range of applicants coming from all over, from NGOs, from art institutions, from hospitals, etc.? So I don't know who is best placed, maybe Professor Baronas or Vice Minister Jakštas.
It's a very good question. Thank you. In general, Lithuania and the Research Council of Lithuania in particular has an experience implementing Seal of Excellence scheme during the previous period and supported projects, which were evaluated high, and due to the lack of budget did not get the funding from the European Research Council. Particularly, these are Mariya Sklodowska-Curie Action and SME instrument, which was implemented by MITA, Agency for Science, Innovation and Technology. We have applied structural funds to fund these projects. More elaborated synergy schemes such as co-funded partnership would allow us to focus our resources. I think that structural funds will play the major role in Lithuania when we are talking about European partnership in Horizon Europe, including AT and some other issues of this such kind. Thank you. Maybe Vice Minister will say something more.
May I talk now?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Actually, I think that national budget should play the main role in financing science and innovation, and other schemes should be only a support for the national budget and help us to orientate our initiatives. But as Professor Žukauskas mentioned, firstly, we need to increase national funding. And we had a few years to prepare to replace structural funds with the national budget, but currently we are in a situation when a previous period ended and we are not actually prepared to replace funded activities by national budget. And the national budget is in quite a stressful situation because we need to fund a lot of activities which usually was funded by structural funds. And how can Horizon Europe help for our national priorities? So I think the main keys are that Horizon Europe can help us to navigate our research to mission-oriented programs instead of programs which are very narrow and orientated in some activities which do not lead to innovations. And another thing is that we cannot have a strong research in all fields. So it really helps us to select priorities and invest more in areas which are priority in Lithuania. Thank you.
I would like to ask Ričardas Valančiauskas a similar question. So you mentioned that the success rate of Lithuanian participants is quite good. It's 14%, but I mean, it's still a very, very low success rate overall. So which factors do you think are key in increasing the success rate? And this question I would like to address to all the panelists, starting with Mr. Valančiauskas, maybe.
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of different factors. Yeah, so I just will start and probably will stop, and that will be enough. So starting from the quality of proposals themselves, I would say, again, 14% is not bad. The best countries achieve only 18 or so. So it's not like German application is 1 out of 2 receiving the grant from the European Commission. So 14 is good, but of course it's not enough, and the ambition should be higher. But again, so starting from the applications, even from basic skills, English skills in writing applications and putting the right keywords in the applications, especially it's a bigger challenge for the elder, probably, researchers and company representatives. But apart of that, of course, writing a good proposals, putting what the main things, the main messages, what the European Commission and the evaluators are looking for. So this is one of the things that should be addressed. Another thing, Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe will be a partnership program. So there will be not a lot of room for individual projects. And then we talk about projects and consortia, including at least 3 different entities from 3 different member states. And it means even if you are good, but if you are doing it alone, you will not get success in the Horizon Europe program. So you need to look for partners. And this could be addressed by, again, raising awareness about Lithuanian achievements, by organizing various events or other campaigns on tools, everything that helps Lithuanians to be noticed in the European research and innovation community. Other, I don't know, challenges are probably in Lithuania. I would say, well, it's a risky remark from my side. In Lithuania, we have a quite favorable system. I mean, research innovation programs, and that's why sometimes research organizations and companies, they are not looking towards Horizon programs, because we have quite decent national instruments. Of course, they have some shortcomings, but you know, these Lithuanian national instruments, they are not pushing our Lithuanian companies and research organizations out of their comfort zone, because they know that, well, in Lithuania, it's quite easier. It's much easier to get funded, you know, rather than to compete with the Europeans. Again, success rate of 14% shows that only 1/5 of the total applications are being approved. And in Lithuania, I guess, and I know that the success rate is much higher. So it means, you know, that Lithuanians are not willing to even to take part in Horizon programs. So I would say these are the main things, but of course there are a lot of more, but I would like to ask the same question the other analysts.
Thank you. Professor Žukauskas, you have mentioned that Lithuania needs to first invest into the excellence and the human capital of our research system, but investments can take a long time. Which do you think are the key factors right now that we need to address to increase not just the participation rate, but the success rate of Lithuanian participants?
Thank you. It's a good question. However, things in science and research and innovations evolve not so rapidly as sometimes we know. So they even are hindered by some cultural issues. So you need to change even culture to be more successful in research and innovation. But I think that such measures as introducing new research programs on education, biotechnology, green course, digitalization, with a strong emphasis on internationalization. So I mean in attraction, with emphasis of attraction of international partners, even in national projects, would facilitate our success in international programs. So it is very important that our researchers could have opportunities to more communicate with their international partners, both online and physically, to attend international conferences as soon as the COVID situation will release. And I think there are a lot of points also sending our students and facilitating the international fellowships of our students, facilitating international internships of our young researchers. This of course can facilitate also the success in the participation in this huge international initiative.
Saying is that really implementing the internationalization of science as a horizontal priority should pay off in the future, and we should really focus on it as soon as possible in all our national programs.
Not only science, but also studies in universities. It's very important that students, especially in the master grade, could have opportunities to travel, could have opportunities to see more international research. And I think after graduating the universities, in few years, they will be prepared already for the participation in a real nice, huge, big projects.
I think it's an excellent point, not just internationalization of science and innovation, but also education is crucial for the future of Lithuanian economy as a part of global value chains, and facilitating integration into all the networks in the abroad, not just science, but also global value chains, etc. Mr. Janulevičius, would you agree? And from your perspective, which are the key factors for Lithuanian success in the Horizon program right now and in the future?
Yes, I fully agree with Professor Žukauskas and with Mr. Valančiauskas that everything from my own experience, everything starting, from consortiums. Lithuania, unfortunately, quite small country. We don't have so many researchers. Of course, there is I don't know, is it really success rate 14%? I would say so success rate will be when we will balance our investments inside this Horizon Program Europe from Lithuania side, and together with final applications and the benefits which we will receive. We can measure this by money. If there is a equal zero, I think this is a success rate. To reach this zero level, I think we still need to increase our success rate from 14 approximately till 2022. Then we will reach the same amount which we spend every year to this Horizon program. I think this is our target, but not just the money. The main important, the really added value. And from my own experience with the companies, firstly, Firstly, of course, thank you very much for acceleration program. It's to the Minister of Education, to the Minister of Economy, and to all the participants. It's very important, and we talked about this program, I think, last 6 years, but thanks God now it's starting. Because for the companies, small even SMEs companies, it's very difficult really properly to prepare and to find partners. The beginning is starting to find right partners. Our experience and our success rate was around 40-50% always. If my personal company group is participating in Horizon Europe, we're losing just 50%. Let's say the second application we win. Of course, the teams, not the teams, but let's say the directions was very important for the whole Europe. It's a first point. Second point, of course, firstly, we participated as just members of consortium, and later on we received the experience, and there is a trustability from the biggest universities in Europe, and then we came as administrators, organizers, or leading partners inside the consortiums. It comes to another value. That's been very important. It's interconnection, support in the first stages, because the companies invest own money and in the beginning, and they don't know what kind of success rate. If the success rate is so low, of course, every private company is thinking, should I do this or not? And in general, I want to say that the well-designed Horizon Europe has the potential to boost private investments in research and innovation at this time, especially when it's so difficult times after the pandemic. We need really to help the companies to applicate as much as it possible to reduce their first costs, and later on it starts. From my own experience, the biggest universities in Europe, they really share a lot of information, and we can bring any company to a different level, to a higher level, especially industrialized level. And I think this is the right time now to start and to boost these things. Thank you for participation, and I hope it will be as a reality, but not just the talkings.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kvedaravičius, some last points hearing everyone talk. Do you have anything to add about the most important factors for Lithuanian participation?
Sorry about that. I would not consider myself an expert on the topic of application for Horizon Europe funds. And I don't think I will tell something new, but I believe the content is always most important, and open-mindedness, broad view, and addressing very important and important issues that are important not only for Lithuania, but as it was mentioned, the importance of international cooperation, I believe, is also relevant to the importance of the topics that are addressed on the international level. So the content, of course.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for these insights. The discussion is flying. Time is unfortunately flying as well. So we have to move on with the program. But I really thank you for your time and for your insights. And I hope that you encouraged people who are listening to this event to take their chances and to know that the institutions are there to support them as well. So thank you once again. And now we will hear more about the preparation of Horizon Europe from the perspective of the European Parliament, as I welcome Mr. Andrius Kubilius, who is a Lithuanian member of the European Parliament.
Okay, good afternoon to everybody, and pleasure to be part of this very important discussion. Thanks, Agnė. I will try to be very brief, and I will perhaps continue in some way what Artūras Žukauskas started to speak out, since we are both graduated at some time, physics university, and then Artūras stayed in science for a longer time. I switched to politics. So, and perhaps since I am almost the last one to speak, and everybody was praising here Horizon, I will, as some kind of European program, I will try to be a little bit more critical. And since I am the last one, perhaps nobody will be able to criticize my critical remarks. So that's my point. Well, of course, in European Parliament, in ITRE committee, we discussed quite a lot about Horizon program. And there is very clear division, You can see that all from so-called old Europe, from Western Europe, they are praising Horizon program, which is really very important for development of excellent research, for development of excellent centers, in order for Europe really to be able at least to try to compete with other, global economies like US or China. And we can, I'm always very humble, and I'm saying that, what is good for, I don't know, for Volkswagen, is good also for Lithuania, but I'm not so sure sometimes about that logic, since when we are looking into our interests, it's very clear. We have a little bit different interest. We need to look how we can use our research, our innovative capacities in order to push our economy towards a higher innovative level, not to stop our convergence and so on and so on. And in some way, I see those two goals on EU level and on our national level competing with each other. Since those European excellence centers, they are using Horizon money, and they are hiring our scientists. If you look into general statistics, we can see that around even perhaps more than 90% of Horizon funds are at the end used by so-called old Europe centers. So as I said, they're hiring our scientists. It's good for our scientists, but I'm always wondering, is that really the best way, for Lithuania, for Lithuanian economy to develop its innovative capacity? And that is why I'm coming back to Artūras Žukauskas, metaphor about basketball. Indeed, what we are now doing, we are sending our best basketball players from science, or let's say best scientist players, to some kind of European high-level, teams. And of course, our basketball or our science is suffering. And the only way what we can do, really, I agree again with Artūras Žukauskas, we need to develop our own basketball league, but with a very clear goal. We need to have, as in basketball, we need to understand that we can have only few teams who can play on European level. Like in the basketball, we have, Žalgiris, and in some way Vilnius Rytas, which is, not always able to compete on that level. So the same is with our problem. Why we are, I agree absolutely with Vidmantas Janulevičius that the problem is that we are investing into Horizon program, European program, more money than we are getting back. So which is really from simply, from a logical point of view, it's not very the best solution. But in order for us to be much stronger and to use, Horizon money and to use all the opportunities, really, we need to agree that we can have only few teams, national teams, which can play on European level. And here I see the biggest problem. We are, sometimes so democratic that we cannot agree which teams from science, are those in which we should invest. And then we're spreading all our not very big resources into, all the smaller groups. Everybody is very good in shouting and demanding, that they are also very good. And that is why we're losing all the opportunities. Now, we had an experience with smart specialization program. We have possibility to use 800 million, euros in last period. At the beginning, we said that, our smart specialization will be concentrated on 20 priorities. And, and of course, we failed to achieve anything. I see just, few directions like biotechnology, like, photo, electronic branches where we can really be strong on European level. And that is where we need to understand that those can be our national teams which can compete for Horizon money and really for, excellence on European level. And that is a way how we can proceed further.
Thank you, Mr. Kubilius. I think your message is very clear: to focus, to concentrate resources on the best teams and to send them play at the European level. So I thank you for your input. Unfortunately, the time has run out and we will not be able to invite Dr. Noorma to share their Estonian experience in more detail with us, as this brings to the end of the session today. However, I would really like to thank you to all the speakers, organizers and partners, and to the audience for your great questions as we're finalizing the discussion. So I would really like to close now with my final remarks. Yes, I would like to close with my final remarks. We listened to many different perspectives today. And indeed, in today's global economy, knowledge is like a currency. So it's very important that we make it work for us. What is clear is that a limited number of centers of excellence in the EU cannot guarantee the competitiveness of the EU. So crucially, this implies the challenge of multiplying the number and fostering growth of the current islands of excellence, including islands of excellence here in Lithuania. So we have to facilitate our best teams and make them play at their highest and best level in Europe. So let's hope that our coordinated efforts will lead to a better integrated European research area. Listening to the discussion today, I was able to distill a few critical factors for success. So first of all, what was mentioned a few times is that the next key step to increase the firepower of Horizon Europe lies in seeking alignment and synergies with other EU and national funding programs. So potential synergies with the structural funds and the recovery budget, as well as different funding bodies. We really need linkages from small ecosystems to larger ecosystems. In that way, we can create strong pipelines. Secondly, it is very clear, it was mentioned a lot in the questions from the audience, that we need to reduce the bureaucracy, the European bureaucracy, the national bureaucracy as well, if I may say, which is a clear barrier for newcomers. So therefore, maximum administrative simplification is key. Thirdly, we really need consistency in implementing research internationalization and internationalization of education as well as a horizontal priority, which implies consistent and strong research funding, so strengthening our national research programs and promoting our best, as well as consistent promotion of a national participation in the Horizon Europe program. So basketball was mentioned a couple of times. I myself am a fan of football, and I'm also a fan of Brazilian football, which is, you know, a lot of individualistic and creative playing. But when you see a German team approaching, you can see the whole system behind it, which pushes the team towards success. And we really need this kind of system that pushes our teams towards success for in the Horizon Europe, and overall pushing towards the competitiveness globally. Fourth, Europe and Lithuania in particular needs to overcome its innovation productivity paradox, which means that we need mechanisms in place to ensure that research results are exploited in the market, and to finalize the public-private partnerships. So innovation for impact is the combination of big new ideas multiplied by scale. So hopefully we will be able to use this new instrument, European Innovation Council, to a larger extent. And finally, intersectoral collaboration is extremely important for making Europe a success. As I said, Horizon Europe is not just a research program, always sometimes perceived like that. It's an innovation program, so we have to encourage all other participants, but not just businesses, but also all the others, NGOs, end users, such as hospitals, municipalities, and other services providers to participate and see innovation as a target and as not something that is only developed by scientists. And of course, it means that all sectoral policy players and funding bodies need to collaborate much more as well at the national level, same as at the international level. So thank you once again. I would also like to invite everyone to the second day of our conference, which will happen tomorrow, and we will discuss in more detail the key pillars, instruments, and novelties brought by Horizon Europe. And I encourage you to be active in getting the best out of these opportunities. Commissioner Gabriel already invited you to the European Research and Innovation Days that will happen in June this year, so notice in your calendar and do not miss out on these opportunities. And lastly, I would like to demand a little bit of your attention and fill out the survey about this event, which is available for registered participants on Slido. So thank you one more time for your attention, and I hope this gave you a lot of inspiration to participate and take the best out of this unprecedented, largest ever program that is available for us. Thank you. Have a great day.
Every great project starts with an idea. We will transform these ideas into new solutions to recover from the global pandemic and ensure a green, digital, healthy, and fair future for everyone.